All right, hello everybody. It is so very good to see you. Normally I have a little bit of an intro that plays, but I didn't want to make you wait any longer. We were having a little bit of technical difficulties, so it is so very good to see you. And man, it has been a busy day today for a Saturday. It's been a lot, so very good to see you all. Thank you so very much for joining me. It's truly a pleasure. And for those of you who are in the United States and are getting blasted with the cold weather right now, I hope you are staying warm and safe and under a blanket, and you get to learn about business plans today. So, for those of you who have seen me before, you kind of know how this all goes. Let me go ahead and share my screen so you know what it is that we're about, and I'll get the thing up and running. There we go. Fingers crossed, because this wasn't working before. There we go. All right, excellent. So very good to see you. We've got Annie Smith. Hello, and thank you for this training session. This is my pleasure. This is my jam. I absolutely love these training sessions. This Business Plans 101 is probably one of my favorites, and I really enjoy it. Although I think probably my most favorite one is either Business Growth Multiplier, Marketing Magic for business owners. That's a fun one. I actually did one a couple days back, which was financial literacy for business owners. All this stuff you can find on YouTube, but you can also, if you like live and you like asking questions live, just keep an eye out on Eventbrite, and you can see when the next session is coming up. Michaela is in Worcester, Mass. Very good. And looking to open a doggy daycare. Actually, I've worked with clients who've had doggy daycares, and they can do well. Annie Smith is in Tampa. So it's, what is it, below 70 today? You guys having a real wind chill problem? Okay. Oh, kidding. Glad that you could join me, Annie. Melanie is from England in the UK and owns an early education consultancy. Very good. You're probably right around dinner time, Melanie. Glad that you can join me today. So for those of you who have not shared where you're at, or and if you, or even if you're not in business yet, or you have an idea for a business, that's totally fine. But just let me know so I can make some of the content today relevant to you. And that's really the kind of the point that of just me asking this. My stream isn't working, or is it just me? Michaela, I am not sure. Is anybody else having issues with the stream? I'm seeing that I'm live. I don't have any way of knowing if anybody else is having an issue or not. So if you can let me know. Michaela, sometimes if you can hear me, sometimes it's best for you to go out and come back in. But let's see, try logging out and coming back. Oops. Trying to do this. Trying to do this fast. All right, we've got Rebecca from Glasgow, Scotland. Rebecca, my family, my mom's side of the family is actually from Greenock. So spent a little bit of time in Glasgow visiting there. I've got family, quite a bit of family over there still. And so glad you could join us. Hopefully you're having some good weather. And Michaela's saying, got it. Thank you. All right. Excellent. All right. Well, let's get to it. So for those of you who have come back in a little bit late to the show, you are perfectly on time. Let me know where you're from. And yeah, it's yeah, they're good folks. They certainly know how to party. In fact, my grandmother's sister, my grandmother has passed away since, but my grandmother's sister, she turned 100 this past June, and had a big old huchta tuchta, as they say, and we had a big old blowout. It was a lot of fun. That came over from Scotland. She lives here in the U.S. now, but anyway, all right. So Anurag, hi, planning to start a business related to dogs. Okay, excellent. We've got a doggy daycare that it was also coming here, so you guys are in good company. Ariella is from Chicago, Illinois. All right, I'm your neighbor to the south. I'm in Lafayette, Indiana. So Ariella, I'm just 2 hours south of you. We're getting ready to get hit with a major, massive snowpocalypse. So everybody, hopefully you've got your bread, milk, and eggs so you can make French toast, I guess. I don't know what it is. Veronica's from Philly. Welcome. Glad you could make it. All right, so everybody, thank you so very much for coming here today. You're here to learn about Business Plans 101. We're off to a little bit of a late start, but we've got a lot of information to cover in about the next roughly 90 minutes. Depends on how chatty you guys are, but please, if you've got questions along the way, type them in the chat. I will get to those questions. Just make sure your questions are specific. And one other quick thing that I want to share with you guys as you guys are burning up the chat. I'm going to get to you just in one hot second, Bryce and Asia. I'm sorry if I'm not saying that right. One quick thing I'm going to ask you folks is make sure you're doing your very best not to multitask. Stay in contact with, or stay plugged into what we're doing here, because really what we're trying to do is train our brains. We're trying to train our brains for what is, what is most important that is in front of us, and not wander off the reservation with all these different ideas that we have. So let's stay plugged in. Let's stay dialed into one another. And I don't want you to miss a nugget that could really be a game changer for you. So Bryce is from Fort Myers, Florida. Welcome, Bryce. I'm glad that you can join us. Let me know what business that you're in. Asia is from Italy and from Florence, Italy. He wants to start a sneaker company. That's really cool. Good for you. And got Keisha from Fort Worth, Texas. Very good. You guys are getting some cold weather heading inbound too. Just an Arctic blast across the US. All right, so what we're going to be talking about is a strategic approach to managing your life and your business. And I know it sounds a little militant, taking like a strategic approach, but we are going to be talking about managing both of your life and your business. I know we're going to be talking about business plans, but I would be completely unauthentic if I didn't at least talk about your personal life, at least to some degree, because let's face it, these businesses exist to serve us, not the other way around. So we are going to be talking about some life stuff, just a little bit. I promise it'll be just a little, but the bulk of the training is going to be around business planning. So for those of you who are really wanting to get, if you've got an idea for a business, maybe you've got an existing business that you're looking to expand, this is going to be for you. And you are going to get a copy of a business plan at the very end. I'm going to show you where to go, because if I show you now, you're going to be multitasking, and that's what I asked you not to do, right? So try to stay plugged in, and you will get a copy of a business plan. You don't have to, it doesn't cost you anything. It's totally free. I just want to let you know that that's where you can go. I'll show you how to get that at the end. And so who's this for? This is either for new or established businesses. And the reason why this could be either for new businesses or established businesses is because if you're a new business, having a business plan gives you things to think about. And it's interesting, there's a lot of people who start businesses that never do any business planning whatsoever, and that's fine. That may be good for them. But I will tell you, I've started many businesses without business plans and just kind of wandered along the way. But I will tell you that since I have gotten into other businesses later on and really used the framework that I'm going to be telling you about today or tonight, depending on where you're at, is going to help you get your thoughts in alignment in a strategic approach, from a top-down approach. We're not going to be talking about a lot of individual tactics, although I will bring in some, but really about putting together a strategy for either a new or an established business that maybe wants to do something different, maybe wants to grow into a different market, maybe wants to expand into a different market. These are all reasons why you would need a business plan. Or sometimes if you're going to a municipality or a government agency or a government, maybe you're looking for a grant. These are the sorts of things why you might need a business plan. So I'm going to show you a formalized business plan at the end, but the framework that I'm going to give you right now is something that I have written about in the Time Wealthy Advantage. And that's this book over my shoulder here. And you can get a copy of that. I'll talk about that here in just a second, but I'm not here to push the book. I just want to let you know that who this specifically is for. If you guys are looking, and I'm just putting this out there up front because I always get these questions, and I'm just waiting a few minutes to tell you this, because now that I've got a bunch of people in here, and for those of you who have just joined, please let me know where you're from and what kind of business you're in, or what business idea that you've had that you have. But what I've got on the screen right here, and I'm going to go ahead and drop this in the chat as well, and you can join this for absolutely free. Again, join it, click it, there's just a couple of real quick questions that you can fill out real fast, but come right back, or just wait until the end, and you can and then you can go get this. You can get access to this. But it's my community page where you can ask me questions, and you and I can directly chat. Feel free to join that right now. There is no cost to that, but that will change at some point in the future. I don't have plans just yet, but I will be starting to charge at some point. All right, so let's get to the agenda. The agenda, first and foremost, we're going to be talking about the framework, specifically the Viper framework that I was alluding to, that I wrote about in the Time Wealthy Advantage. But then we're going to be talking about the people. So we're talking about the systems side of things, and then we're talking about the people and the psychology side of things. This is all going to be very critical to start to think about now in your business planning. And you're thinking, well, what does that have to do with the price of tomatoes? Why should I really care about that in my business plan? Because it's going to be people that you're going to need. You're going to need people, whether they're inside your organization or outside of your organization, whether they are employees or they are subcontractors or however you're handling this. You have to have both the systems side, which is very heavily planned in the business planning side, but you also have to consider the people side of the business. Because again, businesses don't buy things. People buy things. Even if you're doing B2B, right? Business to business, there's still humans involved in the decision. So you have to consider the business and psychology side of things for sure. So we talked about the framework, talked about the people. Now we're going to talk about the 4 core functions of business. And then we're going to get into actually scaling and growing this organization, because that's the whole point, right? The whole point of you starting this business or planning for it is so you can plan for growth. And that's what we're going to get into. So without any further delay, let's get into that right now. Okay, so there's the systems component to the business. And this is what I talked about here in my book, The Time Wealthy Advantage. It is not a short book. It is not one of those books that was like a glorified pamphlet. That's not this. This is almost a 300-page book. It gets into the weeds of the Viper framework. Again, I'm not here to promote that, but if you are in the US and you'd like a copy of it, you can go to strategicboardroom.com and order that right off the main page, or you can get it from Amazon if you are so inclined. Either if you're outside the United States, that's probably going to be your best bet, is to go to Amazon. Just they've got fulfillment on all different continents. All right, so the Viper framework, the Viper method, as I mentioned, is a top-down approach that you're going to apply for not just your business but also for your life. So the Viper framework, the Viper method, is actually an acronym for vision, infrastructure, process, execution, and reporting. Vision, infrastructure, process, execution, and reporting. So let's start right off the gate with vision. Vision has 2 components. It has personal vision and it has business vision. Your personal vision is specifically, okay, what do you want to do? So in other words, Keisha, what do you want to do? Asia, what do you want to do? Bryce, Veronica, Ariella, what do you want to do? What do you want your life to look like if it wasn't defined by income generation? What would you want your life to look like if your job description wasn't a life description, right? Have you ever been to a networking event where someone's like, oh, what do you do? I'm an accountant. And they put you in this little neat box where you are now forever this accountant because your job description has become a life description. So I want you to think about this. What would your life look like if it wasn't defined by income generation? And this is important because I want you to think about this. Like if you woke up with $30 million or 30 million pounds or 30 million euro in your bank account tomorrow morning, what would your life look like? And again, you might be thinking, well, I want to do all this stuff and buy all these things. Fine. Let's say that you spend 5 million units of whatever and you blow it, and now you've got 25 million units left. Okay, great. What does that mean? Right? What is your life going to look like from a day-to-day perspective? And that's where you start asking, okay, great. Where do you want to go? And it's important that you get really specific on this. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this because this really isn't a life, planning course. But let's face it, the business exists so you can have that better life. Start thinking about this in terms of, okay, well, I want this better life. What do you want your relationship to look like with your spouse, with your children, with your friends, with your faith, with your fitness and wellness? Like, what are all those different aspects that you want it to look like? Once that's defined, or really once you at least get it somewhat written down and some thought like, I just want to do whatever I want. I'm like, okay, so you want to jump naked out of an airplane holding a baby shark? No, that sounds ridiculous, right? So you're like, no, I don't want to do that. Okay, check. Let's take that off the list. But what do you want? And for many people, what do you want is difficult, right? But what do you want to do in terms of learning and things like that? Your business vision is just simply going to ask you, okay, great, that's where you want to go. Let's talk about how we're going to get there. And that's what the business vision does. And the interesting thing about business vision is I've sat in, I don't even know at this point, dozens, probably hundreds of conferences at this point, masterminds, whatever, and sat next to people who I knew and knew well, and knew that they were making 6 and sometimes 7 figures a month net, right? Like that's what's going into their bank account, and they were completely miserable. And the reason is because they were confusing achievement for fulfillment, and they never spent any time thinking about this life that they want to build. And you know what the interesting thing was? They weren't interested in fixing the personal vision. What they were more worried about is getting an extra comma in their bank account. So I'm just saying, like, the danger in that, in creating a business vision, the danger in creating a business vision before you create a personal vision is that you end up creating a life that exists to serve the business. And it's fine if you enjoy what you do. I do enjoy what I do. But you know what I spent the last hour doing prior to jumping on here? My bride had a few errands to run, and she dropped off our 3-year-old daughter, and we had a picnic in my office just a little bit ago. This is my office. I don't actually have a home office. This is my actual building where I have my business, and we just had a little picnic and had a Lunchable. I don't know if you guys know a Lunchable, and I know this is going to sound super disgusting, but she took the cracker, put a piece of ham on it, put a piece of cheese on it. I'm thinking she's going to put another cracker on top of it. No, she takes an Oreo cookie and puts that on it, and then puts the cracker on top of that. And that was a hamburger. And then she goes, "Eat it, Daddy." And I was like, "Oh no, let me take it apart." And I go to take it apart, and she like lost her mind. No. So I had to eat it just like that. That was awful. All right. So if you have a toddler, you understand. All right. So anyway, so the point about this is putting together a personal vision. And that's part of my personal vision is making sure that we have a 20-year-old, a 17-year-old, a 3-year-old. I'm 53 years old. And all of that was, and again, us having another child, later in life was part of our vision. That's something that we wanted to do. So here's what I'm going to do. We're going to talk about this personal vision piece, and then we're going to be done with this, and the rest of the time here we're going to be talking about business vision. So the personal vision, one of the things that I would suggest is consider what you would say for a 100th birthday speech. Let's pretend that you're turning 100 years old and you are turning 100. What would you say? Okay, who would you want to be there in the room? What would you say? What would be part of your speech that you would talk about in your 100th birthday? Maybe, what would you want others to say to you when you're done talking? And what would be the message that you would want them to carry outside the room to other people when you were done? And I know that sometimes for a 100th birthday speech, this might be a little bit too far removed for you. You're like, dude, I'm in my 20s. I'm not gonna do this, right? Okay, I get that. But maybe it's the next milestone for you. Maybe it's you're turning 40. Maybe your kids are getting ready to graduate high school, or maybe they're getting ready to graduate college. Whatever that next milestone is for you, I want you to think about what that could be during that speech. All right. So again, take that time to write down that personal vision. All right. Let's look at business vision. So once personal vision is defined, now we're going to reverse engineer this business that's going to deliver this life for us. So again, this is about business planning. So everything I'm about to talk about right now from this point forward is going to be about business planning. This thing right here, if you hop off and don't come back, that's fine, but hang on for the next 5 minutes, because what I'm going to be talking about here is very foundational for many people who hire me as a strategist or a CSO, Chief Strategic Officer. Generally, they'll hire me as a fractional CSO, where I come in and I help them with their business strategy. And I will tell you, every time I have been invited into a company and I see issues going on, it's in one of these 3 areas. It's in one of these 3 areas. Universally. Okay. So, let's see. Lauren's asking a quick question. Will these slides or live stream be posted afterwards? Yes, Lauren, thank you. I actually forgot to mention this. So for those of you who are, who signed up through Eventbrite and are here and we have your email address, I'm going to be sending you a replay for this. So yes, you will be getting the replay. And also if you have subscribed to my YouTube channel, you can also see this as well. So it'll be posted there, and it will be posted, and we'll be sending you the link to your email inbox. So I forgot to mention that early on. So yes, thank you for asking. And someone else is giving you a thumbs up. So good question. All right. You are most welcome, Lauren. Thank you for the question. All right. So I meant to mention that too, because I know some of you have messaged earlier and say, hey, I can't stay for the whole thing. Do I get the replay? All right. So the 3 C's of business vision are core purpose, core values, and client avatar. Core purpose, core values, and client avatar. And again, these things are absolutely foundational because they really help define the DNA of your organization. Let's start with core purpose. The core purpose is specifically what business are you in, and specifically what problems do you solve. And it's critical that you be highly specific in your answers. Many times when I am working with serial entrepreneurs especially, I ask them what it is they do, and they tell me all 9 business ideas that they have that they're trying to execute all at the same time. Okay. And again, ask me how I know. This is exactly what I used to do. And when I was trying to do all these different businesses and 6 and 7 business ideas and trying to do it all at the same time, and realistically, they weren't 6 or 7 businesses. They were 6 or 7 jobs that I created for myself. They weren't really businesses. All they were was just activities that I had to do. And if I wasn't doing the activity, I wasn't making any money. So that's not a business. A business is when something goes and it perpetuates whether you show up or not. And that's important. So what we're trying to create here with this business plan is you're trying to create something that perpetuates and does the work whether you show up from day to day or not. Does that sound attractive to you? Now, I'm not saying like you're going to start something that you don't want to be involved in. I love what I do with Strategic Boardroom. I save business owners a ton of time by delivering education to them. And then when they go, well, how do I apply this education? Then I'll step in and say, well, let's talk about what it's like to work together. But many times I'm educating them, and sometimes I see gaps in education, so I fill in those gaps a little bit. And that's what I do. I save them a ton of time. So they don't have to go out and read all the books that I have read and go through all the research that I have gone through and go through all the trial and error, which is only going to chew up a bunch of time. So that's part of my core purpose, is I save business owners a ton of time. This is why it's important. So again, I'll give you a quick example. If you say that you are a real estate, like if I ask one of you, hey, what is it you do? And you say, well, I'm in real estate. That doesn't tell me anything. It doesn't really tell me much. Are you a realtor? Or are you do you do property management? Or are you a wholesaler? Are you a fix and flipper? And there's a lot of real estate people that go, yeah, I do it all. Great, right? Understand, you might be in 6 or 7 different businesses, and it's really difficult to get traction in all of them when you're the sole person doing all of them. Okay, but if you have people that operate when you're not around and do all the things, great, you have a business. Right? That's a much higher level to get to than just having 6 or 7 different jobs. So what specific business are you in? What problems do you specifically solve? And it's really important, especially for your business plan, that you get your core purpose really dialed in. That's core purpose. Let's talk about core values. Core values. Now I know this sounds super squishy, but I'm going to ask you what matters to you about this business. And how would the world be worse off if you went out of business? Like specifically, this is really important for you to stop and think about when you're putting this together and you're thinking, man, I'm not gonna worry about this core value stuff. Like, does this really matter? I'm here to tell you, yes, it absolutely matters. And the reason why it matters is because your core values is what defines your company culture. And your company culture and your company brand are inextricably linked. Your company culture is what's experienced by the employees. The company culture is what's experienced by your subcontractors, by the people who are helping you do the deliverable. Your company brand is what's experienced by your customers and those people and the general public at large. So that's what I'm saying. Like, think of a company that has a really strong brand. Well, chances are they have a very well-defined company culture, and that's because they have defined their core values. So these things are absolutely critical. So if you're trying to build a business, especially if you're already in business, if you're trying to grow a business that you might eventually want to grow and scale, and again, keep in mind real quick that not every business is scalable, right? Not suggesting that it's not worth doing. You might make a lot of money at it, right? You might really enjoy what you're doing, but you cannot. There's certain certain economies that exist, certain realities that you just can't. Not every business is scalable, and really, you can't scale a broken business model. So there's certain components that just say, hey, look, there's nothing wrong with doing a business that's not scalable. I just want you to understand that there are limitations, but it doesn't mean that you still shouldn't define your core values, because when your core values are defined, that's going to help dictate who you attract, not just in terms of employees and customers and vendors, but or not just employees and vendors, but also your customers, your clients, the people that you most want to work with. Okay, and that brings us to the third component, which is your client avatar. So who specifically and ideally do you want to serve? Right now, we're talking about the 3 C's of business vision. The 3 C's of business vision that absolutely help define the DNA of your company. Whether it's just a company of you or a company of you plus 25, whatever that looks like, who specifically and ideally do you want to serve? And you want to break them down into their geographics, their demographics, and their psychographics. And the more dialed in that you can be on your client avatar means you're going to be much more effective and efficient in your marketing and your lead gen. So think about this for just a second. How well dialed in are these people who that you have defined? So what are their geographics? Their geographics is where they are. Their demographics is who they are. Are they married? Are they single? Do they have kids? Do they not have kids? Are they older and retired, or are they younger and just getting started in life? Are they rich? Are they poor? Right? General demographic information, not hard to figure out. What's their lifestyle, right? But lifestyle is more of a psychographic, but their psychographics is how they think and how they buy. How they think and how they buy. So again, where they are, who they are, and how they think and how they buy. When you're thinking of psychographics, I want you to think of the phrase ALIA, the acronym ALIA, A-L-I-A. That is their attitudes, their lifestyles, their interests, and their aspirations and goals. Let me ask you, and type in a yes or no, right? Type in a yes or no here. This is the audience participation part of this, so get your little nimble fingers, right? But would it make sense that if you could help someone reach their goals, that they might actually want to do business with you? Do you think it would be valuable for you as a company to help if you knew what someone else's goals were? Do you think that would be helpful? I don't know about you, but I can tell you for me, it's absolutely helpful for me to know. Guess what? I have almost 24 people on this call across several different social media platforms that are telling me that they find Business Plans 101 something that they need. Okay. And that tells me that I understand your goals, that I at least have a rough understanding. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Keisha. So Omar's joining us from Omar Mendoza, Mexico, Negotiation Consulting. Very good. Thank you for joining today. Keisha's saying yes. Omar is saying yes, that will help create relationships. Amy is saying yes. Very good. Yep. And it will help them better. Absolutely right. This is why when you get really clear about what it is that you do, what problems that you solve, and you know their attitudes, what are their attitudes on life? What are their attitudes towards education? What are their attitudes towards politics? What are their attitudes towards towards money, right? Or whatever it is. What are their attitudes towards free time? What's their lifestyle like? Are they young and jet setting, or are they kind of a little older and maybe kind of homebodies? Well, then again, I know some young people who are homebodies too, right? So that's totally fine. But I'm just saying, what are their lifestyles like? What kind of lifestyle do they live? What are their interests? Are they into college football? And Indiana football is a big deal right now. Like, congratulations to IU football. But are they into college football? Are they into American national football? Are they into European football, right? Are they into World Cup? Are they into NASCAR? Are they into Formula One? Whatever. But when you know their interests, you also have another mechanism in which to reach them, in which to rapport with them. Make sense? So this is really interesting. It's really important that you know these attitudes, these lifestyles, the interests and aspirations and goals. So let's put the fries in the bag. This is the foundation of the 3 C's of business vision. I'm going to take a sip of Coke here in just a quick second, but as I do, I want you to answer this question for me. Out of these three, which one do you feel you're really dialed in? You're like, yep, I've got it. And yes, it's written down. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's not going to be more from a 1 to a 10. It's not going to be more than a 5 if it's not written down. Just being honest with you. But which one of these you're like, yep, I know what it is. I really feel like I've got this really dialed in, to, man, I got some work to do. Okay. So which one of these do you feel like you have really dialed in, and which one do you feel like you really got to get some work? And it could be all of them, or it could be none of them. So what do you feel that you really got kind of dialed in? So go ahead and type in your answer here in the comment section. Okay. So thank you for letting me get that sip in, because I was getting dry. It's been very, very cold here, and the furnace has been running quite a bit, which is really keeps things very dry. All right. So we've got Annie saying core purpose. Okay. So is that what you need to work on, Annie? Or what do you feel like, is that what you have really dialed in? So core purpose. I'm not sure if that's what's good or what you have to work on. So Melanie, let me know. Michaela, let me know what you have to work on. Veronica, Veronica, I feel like I've seen you before. Glad you could join us. You're saying all of them. I wrote them down already. So you're saying you're really dialed in on all of these. Good on core values, need help with client avatar. Thank you, Felicia. Omar is saying purpose, and Anurag saying most of them. I thought you said type what you had most dialed in. Oh, okay. All right. So if that's what you heard, that's probably what everybody else heard then. Okay. So what everybody had, what you guys were writing was what you had dialed in. Okay. No, I need to work on the other cores. Perfect. All right, Annie, thank you. Yep. All good. Good for understanding core purpose. Avatar needs work. Melanie, and I will tell you, you're going to get so much more juice from the squeeze when you start really dialing in that avatar. It's going to make you more effective in your lead gen. It's going to make you more effective in your networking and your sales. I'm just telling you, it really will help. I'm solid on my core purpose, Michaela. Okay. Sorry if I was not clear on that. I thought that I was clear. Yes, I want to be a landlord for affordable housing. Yes. Okay, Veronica. Yeah, I remember. Okay, excellent. So these are the things that wherever you're at, if you're feeling, thank you guys for being so chatty today. That's really helpful for me. Sometimes I feel like, is this thing on? I still see people there, but no one's saying anything. So thank you guys for being plugged in. And so the 3 C's of business vision, whichever one you feel, or maybe all of them that you feel like you have to do some work on, feel like you got some work to do. And I'm telling you, as you put your business plan together, you're going to look back at these 3 C's and go, oh yeah, I addressed that in the 3 C's of business vision. So you will extract these as you get working on your marketing plan and your different aspects of your target audience and things like that, right? We'll see that here in just a little bit. All right. So the vision piece, we are going to be done with that. We talked personal vision. We talked business vision. Next in the Viper framework is infrastructure. So infrastructure is the bones of the business. It's the desks, it's the chairs, it's the computers and phones and software and websites and credit card machines and all the things that are the bones of the business. And this is going to be important for you to think about as you're looking through the lens of the 4 core functions of business, which are lead generation, sales, operations, and accounting. So you're going to start to think about, well, what kind of infrastructure does my lead generation need? Well, I might need maybe access to ClickFunnels or Kajabi or something along those lines, right? I might need a CRM to track those individuals, right? What customer resource management tool am I going to need? So you start thinking about all these different things from an infrastructure perspective from the 4 core functions. Your sales, you might need, you might need Zoom software, right? Where you're not getting cut off after 40 minutes. Or that might be something that you might need for the sales department. You might need QuickBooks for your accounting function, right? So these are the sorts of things that you want to think about. And infrastructure is so very important to the functioning of your business, especially when you're putting this together on your business plan. Why? Because infrastructure costs money. Because if you don't spend the time on your infrastructure, you have to beef it up with process. It takes extra labor. So this is kind of your labor-saving devices that you want to be thinking about as you're putting together your infrastructure. So if infrastructure is so important, why does vision come first? Well, I'll be honest with you. The thing with this, so let's say for argument's sake that Michaela, right, is, let's say part of Michaela's vision for her life is to lay on the beach for 2 months out of the year in Spain, rubbing cocoa butter on her belly. Okay, so there she is, 2 months out of the year, she's laying on a beach in Spain, rubbing cocoa butter on her belly. Okay, fine vision. Here's the thing. If she creates an infrastructure where she has to return emails and phone calls in a timely manner, that's going to be a horrendous experience for her when she's trying to lay on the beach for 2 months out of the year, rubbing cocoa butter on her belly. Okay, so vision comes first, and infrastructure, you're going to put together infrastructure that's in alignment with that vision. Make sense? All right. So Omar's got a question. Purpose: to better understand the scope of my services and not have to be so wide ratio that I get lost in the middle of the ocean and not be able to provide good quality service. That's exactly right, Omar. Like your core purpose really needs to be dialed in. Because if you've got this, well, we can do this and this and this and this, we do so many different things. I'm just telling you, it's very difficult when people feel like you're like, well, what is it that you do? Like, what's the thing that you're really good at? And let them know that deliverable, yeah, you might have lots of different areas. As a strategist, I have lots of tools in my tool bag, and I can help with lots of different things. But really, one of the main things that I do is I help people save time. And when they come to me and they go, man, I've got this issue, I'm like, okay, have you thought about this and this? And connect these 2 dots together. They go, man, I've never made that connection. And the reason why is because I have done so many things backwards, forwards, and sideways, because I can see, I just have this, I don't know, gift, we'll call it, I guess. And I can say I've got it as a gift because it really truly is. And I'm not suggesting, oh, I'm so gifted. It's because I'm being a good steward of the tools that God has given me. And that's okay. There's plenty of things I'm terrible at. Ask my wife, right? Apparently I don't make the bed right. Okay. But there's other things that I do, but plenty of things that I don't do well, but I do a few things really, really well. And that's what I want people to know me for. So from this perspective, we've talked about vision. We talked about infrastructure. Now let's talk about process. Process is how you do stuff. Process is how you do stuff. And when you're looking at process, there's 2 components to process. It is tactical and strategic. Tactical and strategic. The tactical part of process is just basically your day-to-day stuff that you do every single day. It's your standard operating procedures. It's your checklist items. It's your day-to-day activities. It's your opening procedures and your closing procedures. It's maybe how you prepare bank deposits, how you answer the phone, things like that. Just basic, boring day-to-day stuff that's just kind of very rote, mindless activities that you do every single day. And this is the stuff that needs to be written down. If I was to take and go back out to infrastructure and process, and I drew a box around that, the infrastructure and the tactical part of process, that's the system, right? So for those of you who are my systems people out there, where are my systems people? You're like, yep, I'm all about systems. This is the system component of the Viper framework. And I want you to think of this like this is the ship. This is the battleship that we just created. And you're going to take this battleship and you're going to go do something with it, right? That's what takes strategic planning as part of the planning process. So again, you've got this battleship, this warship. Well, you don't want to just leave it in the harbor to get banged around against the harbor anytime the economic winds blow, whatever they're going to do. right? You want to take this ship out of the harbor, and that's what strategic planning does. So strategic planning has three components. There is the people, purpose, and promotion. People, purpose, and promotion. When you're thinking about strategic planning, you have to consider the people that are going to affect and be involved in the strategic plan. And when I mean people, I mean not just the people inside your organization, but who are the people that are going to be involved in the strategic plan outside the organization? Who are the people that we're going after? Maybe you're going after a new client base. Maybe you're trying to expand in a new market. Who are those people? Again, where did you hear this before? The client avatar, right? So if you're defined, let's say that part of your avatar base it includes both, just because of the way it is. Let's say that you're going after business owners and you work with business owners who are both married and you're working with business owners who are single. So maybe you're going to say, okay, I'm going to segment the marketing for this strategic plan, and I'm only going to segment my marketing towards married couples. Does that make sense? Because when you're having a conversation with a married couple, do you think that they might have different pain points than a single person does? Or maybe you're going after people who have children. Maybe it's a married couple who have children, especially young children. Do you think that you can reach them in a different way than maybe parents who've got kids, but they're grown and out of the house? I mean, I will tell you this. If you are a parent and you have young children, it takes you like 9 hours just to leave the house. Does anybody have young children and know what I'm talking about? You're like, okay, cool, we're ready to go. You're loaded up, and the youngest one can't find this certain stuffed animal. And you're like, oh my gosh, we have, like, I don't know where it is. Do you really? And they're having a meltdown, and you were ready to leave. And all of a sudden 15 minutes goes by because you've got to find this stuffy, and come to find out it was in their bag the whole time, right? If you have young kids, you know what I'm talking about. So this is what I'm saying. Like, you are able to reach them in a way where they go, oh my gosh, that guy gets me, or that gal gets me. Does that make sense? Let me know that makes sense, because you have to understand when you're putting together your strategic plan, and the people component of who you're reaching is very critical to have that well defined. The other side of this is who you're going to need help from. Right? Maybe you need a new supplier. Maybe you need a new vendor, right? Maybe you need some additional help. Maybe you're like, hey, look, I need to market to these people and I have no idea how to do it. So I'm going to hire a marketing agency. Okay. So let's see. Melanie's saying, this has helped me understand. Okay, great. I'm glad this has been helpful. This has helped me to understand the avatar more. There you go. All right. I think you hit enter probably too fast. Okay. So, but this is really important. It's really critical that you understand the people component, not just from the clients that you're after, but also who you may need to enroll for additional assistance. Okay. Yeah, sorry, I pressed it too soon. Yeah, I figured as much. I do the same thing. I'm like, especially when like I'm typing too fast on Messenger, and I'm like, oh, I didn't mean to hit enter just yet. All right. So that's the people. The purpose is in alignment with the core purpose. The core purpose from the 3 C's of business vision. So when you're looking at the strategic purpose, you might be saying, well, we're looking to expand market share in our current market. Maybe you're expanding into a whole new market. Maybe you're launching a whole new product or service. But whatever the purpose is, it has to be in alignment with the core purpose. Because if it's not in alignment with your core purpose, it's going to be like, well, that would be if like Starbucks coffee starts selling chainsaws, right? It doesn't make sense. You're like, well, why are we selling chainsaws again, right? That doesn't make any sense. So you have to make sure that your core purpose or your strategic purpose is in line with your core purpose. Because if it's not, this is what happens when you get that shiny object syndrome and you go, well, yeah, I can wander into this and I can do a little bit of that, right? Yeah, but the confused mind is always going to say no. And if people feel like you're starting to wander off the reservation a little bit too far, they're going to start to say no to you and go find someone else who they feel can serve them better. So make sure that you're really dialed in on your strategic purpose, but also that it's in alignment with your core purpose. The last component to this is promotion. Now, for those of you who maybe have teenagers at home, this will probably resonate a little bit. So do you ever just have to ask to clean their room one time? Do you ever have to ask to take the trash out one time? Generally, it involves some promotion, right? Generally, it involves repeating yourself a lot. This is the same type of thing, right? You have to promote what you're doing. This strategic plan involves a lot of communication. So realistically, I originally had, it was PPC, where it was people, purpose, and communication. But then I realized, no, it involves promotion. You have to repeat yourself often. And you have to repeat yourself often to your external constituents, your client, your new client avatar, or your market, whoever it is, through your marketing, your advertising, your lead gen. And you also have to repeat yourself often internally to your people so they can promote. So you can say, hey, we really got to get, what's our actions and activities going to be around the promotion piece. So when you're considering this is a little bit more granular and not really necessarily something that you would put in a business plan. But I'm telling you this now because if you're putting it together a business plan, you're like, oh, here's this business plan, Omar. And Omar is going to look at it as my associate and go, okay, great. And then put that aside and go, is this the idea of the day? Or am I going to wait for the different idea that you're going to come up with tomorrow? Do you understand what I'm talking about? Because a lot of us have lots of different ideas and it's an idea of the day. And we are our own worst enemies on something like this. So when we start to repeat ourselves often, then all of a sudden they go, oh, they're real serious about this. And I'm just telling you, this is how they're experiencing you. So you've got to promote this thing over and over and over and over. Okay. So I just wanted to make sure that there's an important component around promotion and repetition in the message and the marketing message. So that's strategic planning. So we talked about tactical part of process, the day-to-day process, and we talked about strategic planning. Just got several people that joined us. If you want to let us know where you are from and what business that you're in, that would be great. Welcome. So now we talked about vision, infrastructure, process. Let's talk about execution. Execution isn't really something that you identify in a strategic plan, but I want to make sure that I'm setting you up for success, or I'm just going to take a hot second and talk about this. This is a great quote by General George S. Patton, an American general from World War II. And he said, a good plan violently executed now is better than the perfect plan executed next week. And the reason why I mentioned this, and the reason why that execution has a spot in the Viper framework, is because most plans fall apart in their execution. And the reason is this, because as much as I love my fellow entrepreneurs and small business owners that are out there, as much as I love you guys, you drive me bananas. And again, I get this, but it's because you have that to-do list of 37 items that you're going to try to get done today. Am I right? And again, if I had 3 hands, I would put them all up, because that is exactly how I used to operate and say, oh, I've got this massive to-do list. But here's the thing, is when you have a list like that, you have way too many priorities. And when you have too many priorities, it's the same impact as having no priorities. So that's why I like to boil my things down, especially the most important things that I have to get done that day, into what's called a daily 5. The daily 5 in the daily 5 framework is up to 5 highly specific actions that you can take that's going to move the needle toward your strategic, either your strategic plan or your vision. Okay? Let me say that again. It's up to 5 highly specific actions that you can take, which is going to move the needle towards your vision or your strategic plan. And the reason why I say up to 5, for me, it's 3. Like, that's where I'm doing my lead generation. That's part of what I'm doing. And for me, 3 is really good. 3 is very sustainable. When I have 5, I can't do 5 every single day. I would get burned out. So I'm just letting you know it's up to 5. Now, what are those things? Is it check email? No, check email is not a highly, it might be specific action, I suppose, but is that a needle moving activity really? Is making 10 cold calls a highly specific action that's going to move the needle towards my vision? Yeah, that's going to be something that would absolutely move the needle. And I'm just telling you, a lot of people do something that's called action faking. And action faking is where, like, oh, I've got to do these sales calls, but let me organize my thumbtacks first. You're like, really? Because that's really going to be the needle moving activity, huh? So this is what I'm saying. You have to make sure that they are needle moving activities that are going to really advance you towards your strategic vision, your strategic plan, or your personal vision, your personal business vision. All right. So the last piece is reporting. The last piece of the Viper framework is reporting. And these are your lead metrics and your lag metrics. And you have to have a reporting function because you want measurement of something that you're doing. So I want you to think about this. Your lead metrics are just based on your actions and activities. That's what you actually did. That's what you actually did. Your lag metrics are the results of what you actually did. So ideally, your lead metrics are going to be the things that are making up your daily 5 or your daily 3, whatever number you plan on using. And don't make it a daily 7. I'm just telling you that now. Okay. Make it daily 5. Make it very highly specific actions that are going to move the needle. So again, if you're not getting the results that you want, you just need to look at your actions and activities. That's it. Am I doing enough or not? Am I doing enough or too much, or do I need to adjust? And this is where sometimes an outside perspective can be helpful. If you've got a coach that you can ask, maybe you ask your employees or someone around you, maybe you ask an advisor. This is why I have a job as a strategist. People say, what am I doing? I'm doing these actions and activities, and I'm still not getting the results that I want. Okay, then let's look at the actions and activities that you're doing, and let's see if we can test other things to try to get the results that you're wanting. So that's the Viper framework as a whole. So that's the systems piece. Now let's talk about the psychology. We talked about systems. Now let's talk about psychology. I want to make sure that we're making that clean break. Systems are important. Systems are very important. But systems are only going to get you so far. Because you have to recognize the limitation. I mean, what makes a system great is the fact that they're stable, they are consistent, and they help hold you accountable. Great things about systems. But they're limited. Systems are limited, and they don't make subjective decisions. Adapting to market changes, especially rapid market changes, are really not what systems are designed for. Coming up with creative solutions, again, not really what systems are designed for. They're meant for stability and also maintaining or even creating human connections. Human connections, right? There was a couple folks on here, and I apologize, I don't remember who it was, but one of them is from Scotland, right? In Greenock, Scotland. And my family, my mom's side, grew up in Greenock. And I made that connection, made that human connection. And that's something that AI is great, but AI doesn't make those human connections and talk about different things that are relevant to people on the other side, right? Like that's why I want you to understand that systems have limitations. So now we're talking about psychology. When you're looking at psychology from the perspective of business, there's 2 main components you have to think about in psychology. Now, right now, I'm in a PhD program for industrial and organizational psychology. And one of the main things that I have noticed in my studies and prior to my studies is there's 2 main components to psychology. You've got the individual and personal psychology, and you've got the business and organizational psychology. The business and organizational psychology really is so important because the individual psychology are things around like individual self-worth, your self-management, and your limiting beliefs, even things around emotional intelligence. That is really important because let me ask you folks here, and this is something I want you to answer. How many of you have ever worked for a boss that was like a little insane or just a little like, oh my gosh? And I don't mean like clinically like bipolar, although that can certainly be a thing, but I'm talking like they had some significant personality flaws that because they maybe had a bad relationship with money. Maybe they had a bad relationship with time. Maybe they made lots of promises and they never delivered, right? Those are all personal issues that they needed to work on that now they're making everybody around them suffer because they've never worked on their own personal psychology. How many of you have ever worked for a person like this? Let me hear in the chat. You don't have to name names. But when you've worked with an individual like this, it really impacts you in not a great way. So I want you to think about this, and because the personal side, it absolutely does bleed into the business side. Yep, Ariella. Yeah, absolutely. I have. And I'll tell you what, I have too. And as much as I hate to admit it, I have been that broken person. I have been that not so great boss because I carried around a lot of limiting beliefs. And he's saying yes. Yeah. And unfortunately, that is it. You have to consider that personal and individual psychology component. We're not going to spend a lot of time on that today, but you also have to look at the business or organizational psychology from an external perspective and an internal perspective. Okay. So let's look at business and organizational psychology for a hot second. When you're looking at business psychology, again, you have external, you have internal. Some of the external components are things like buying psychology, right? What are your buyers? What's the journey that they go through in understanding buying psychology? And there are literally entire encyclopedia sets that have been written about understanding buying psychology. And that's an external business psychology. There's also vendor psychology, which is around negotiation, and even things related to politics. In fact, there's again, understanding political science. All of that is around external psychology that's related to your business. And I will tell you this, when you become an employer and you start employing 6, 10, 12 people, up to maybe 20 plus people, you are going to be on the political radar. I'm just telling you that's the way it works. And I mean external politics, not necessarily internal politics. But that's where that external psychology comes into play. For internal psychology, you're looking at things like management and leadership. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the management piece just because I feel like that could be a whole thing in and of itself, as can leadership. But I just want to give you a really quick understanding of how I view leadership through the 3 pillars model of leadership. Veronica is saying I have as well. Yeah, no, absolutely. We've all worked, and again, it sucks, especially when you're working with someone who maybe wants the best for you, but they just don't have the ability to deliver that because they've not worked through their own head trash. And I get it. So when you're looking at the 3 pillars model of leadership, this is the thing that for me, there are 3 main pillars that good leaders will exhibit. And these are 3 really important, not just traits, but things that they must personify in every single way. And those 3 things are trust, vision, and communication. Let me go through these real quick. Trust is so absolutely critical that if people don't trust you, it won't matter how clear your vision is or how well you have shared that vision with them, or even how bought into the vision they are, and how well you might communicate. You might be the best communicator, the best orator, might type beautiful emails and really have really compelling ad copy. It won't matter, because if people don't foundationally trust you, they will not follow you. If they don't, and it really comes down to 2 main elements of competence, that you know what you're talking about, and character. Can they trust your character? Can they trust who you are? Right? From not just a predictive trust, like, yeah, I can trust them to, give me my paycheck every week. Okay, predictive trust is a very low standard of trust. But vulnerability-based trust is a much higher standard of trust, where people are going to say, yeah, not only do I feel like, yeah, they're going to pay me every week, but they're also going to tell me the truth. They're going to say one thing and do that thing. They're not going to say one thing and do another. So trust is absolutely critical. As important as trust is, it's not enough on its own though, because you might have their trust as a leader, but if you don't have a shared vision and you're not really clear on what that shared vision is, this is going to be really, really important, because you might have people that, yeah, they trust you and you're a great communicator. You give beautiful speeches. But again, if you're like, but what are we doing here? What direction are we going in? Or, yeah, dude, that was your vision. Like, you never even asked me what my opinion is. Even if we go in a different direction, as long as I feel like I'm heard, a shared vision is a big deal. And again, people are much more likely to carry a ball that they helped inflate. Don't forget that. And ask people their opinion on things and make sure that they're in alignment with that vision. The last component is communication. And communication, again, they can have your trust. They absolutely see the vision. But if you're a horrible communicator, meaning that you don't do it often enough, or you're just, you're typing in all caps, or you're explosive, you're not a good communicator, I'm telling you, that is also going to be a problem. So you have to understand the trust, vision, and communication. Those are three main pillars. Are there others that really make you an effective leader? Absolutely. But without these three, I'm telling you, I don't see how anything else will matter. I really don't. So that is the trust, vision, and communication. So does leadership really matter that much? Well, I'm writing my next boss called Leader Boss. That's the Time Wealthy Leader Boss. And I'm really going down this path of caring and candor. And a boss that is caring, that's great. And I tend to attract a lot of people who are very caring individuals. The problem is when you apply caring, but not enough candor, is that people will tend to walk all over you. You're a nice guy. You're a nice gal. And you don't want to be mean, right? But people tend to walk all over folks like that. The problem with too much candor and not enough caring is that people will treat you like a tyrant. They're like, yep, all they care about is money. All they care about is business. They don't really care about people. They don't care about me. And they are not going to give you any extra effort whatsoever. And that's called discretionary effort, right? Don't ask them to work 1 minute later. Don't call me after hours, right? Like this is the problem when you don't have an equal balance of caring and candor. And that's really critical. So we're talking here about a level 5 leader. A level 5 leader company is someone who leads a company that really puts the organization first, that puts themselves second, puts their people, puts their customers first. And that's a level 5 leader company. And that's level 5 leaders have been defined by guys like John Maxwell and Jim Collins, who wrote Good to Great and Great by Choice, Built to Last. John Maxwell's written like every book on leadership ever. But the thing is, they define them in different ways. But the point is that they look at these leaders as being out in front, but they're really putting their organization and their people first. So this is, when you're looking at this, level 5 leader companies are significantly more profitable. They grew much faster. They had a much stronger company culture, and they had a really well-defined set of core values. This is a chart that was put up by, this was in Great by Choice by Jim Collins and Morton Hansen. But what they did is they tracked businesses over the course of 30 years. Look at those market returns that they had. 24 times more than the market. Intel, 20 times. Microsoft, 56 times. Southwest Airlines grew 63 times more than the market over that same period of time. Unbelievable returns. So the 100th best places to work lists, wherever, if Forbes has one, there's another couple entities that have best places to work, but they represent the highest stock returns. Think of your companies like Marriott. Think of your companies like Hilton. Think of your companies like Google, right? They've got really, really good management, excellent leadership, and they have really, really good stock returns. So I'm telling you that leadership makes an absolutely huge difference, and because growth requires change, leadership is what manages that change. And you have to remember this. If you're someone who takes a long time to make decisions, the speed of the leader is the speed of the team. And this is something that generally doesn't go into directly. It generally doesn't go directly into a business plan, but it's good for you to start thinking about this now. Like, what's the organizational structure going to look like, and who's going to be in charge of whom? This is going to be really important, especially when you start realizing and recognizing like what you're good at as a leader. I'm a great leader in certain aspects. I'm not so good in other aspects. And that's why I have to recognize I'm really good at getting people pumped up and getting them motivated. But you know what I'm not great at? I'm not great at follow through. And I know this. I know this about myself. So guess what I do? I have built-in mechanisms that help hold me accountable to follow through. And that means making sure my people show up to meetings, and I have someone else who sets the meeting. And I generally do my very, very best to show up on time. And sometimes I forget. Okay. And they have to go, hey, where you at? I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm doing my very best. But I also recognize that that's not the best for me. And if they left it up to me to hold these meetings, they'd never be held. So I'm just saying, bake in the cake how you can be quick about making decisions and putting people in place and mechanisms in place to prop up where you might be falling short as a leader. All right. So that is we talked about systems. We talked about psychology. Now let's talk about the 4 core functions of business. And we're going to start to speed up here a little bit just because this last piece here, the 4 core functions, is pretty straightforward. There are 4 main functions of the business, and they are lead generation, sales, operations, and accounting. And your customer's journey through your business happens in that order. So I want you to think about that and what that looks like in your company. And you're going to be starting thinking, okay, what does my lead generation function look like? And if you're only relying, well, we're relying on word of mouth. Okay, great. But what else are you relying on? Because if you're going to be relying on word of mouth, it's good. I'm not suggesting that it's wrong, but the problem is it's not scalable. If you're always relying on word of mouth, you've got to have another mechanism that you're working on when word of mouth stops working. And now you're dead in the water because you don't have people following you. You don't have people ringing your phone. So the lead gen, the sales, the operations, and accounting. So this is pretty straightforward in terms of these main functions. It's what the business is. The lead generation lets the world know what you're doing. The sales function obviously closes the sale, hands it off to fulfillment. And then obviously the accounting function is what collects the money and pays the bills. All right, those are the 4 core functions of business. Now let's look about scaling and creating controlled growth. In the 4 core functions of business, you have lead generation, which is targeting your client avatar. When I'm targeting my client avatar, I know exactly who I want to work with. Okay. And it's much easier for me to direct my marketing to, and I'm bringing in the clients with the most amount of money who bring me the least amount of drama. Again, this is the client avatar I asked you to define way, way back over an hour ago in the 3 C's of business vision. I want you to remember this because this comes back. This is not going to go away. You've got to get this really dialed in. And when you do, I want you to start thinking about this. I'm going to put these 15 reasons why people buy up on the screen. Let me get myself out of the way here so you can see them. What I would invite you to do is to take a screenshot of this and ask yourself, directly or indirectly, how you help people in each of these 15 areas. People buy because they want to make money. They want to save money, save time, avoid effort. They want to escape pain, right? It could be emotional pain or physical pain, right? Maybe spiritual pain even. They want more comfort. They want better health, and that could be in the form of less stress. They want to feel more love. They want to gain praise. They want to increase their status with their tribe. They want more truth, and they will especially buy truth if they have felt lied to in the past. They will buy for growth, and keep in mind they'll buy for growth in terms of they'll buy for knowledge, growth in their knowledge, growth in their faith, right? Growth in their wellness even. People will buy for things that are just because they're new. They will buy for more perceived control, and they will buy just to be in contribution to others. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to think of all the ways. I want you to take this list, and I want you to think of all the ways, directly or indirectly, how you help someone make money. And I want you to come up with 5 or 10 reasons of how you help people make money. And you're like, well, that's not really what I do. I'm a massage therapist. Really? Because I could probably come up with a couple of reasons of how you help people make money, that because they're more relaxed and they're not in pain, they're able to think more clearly, and that makes them more effective at selling. Maybe, right? It just depends on your avatar. But really, you're going to take that avatar and you're going to start to think, what are all the ways that I help people save money, save time, avoid effort, escape pain? Okay? Again, directly or indirectly. And if you come up with 10 or so different reasons under each of these 15, now you have 150 different reasons in terms of why your client avatar is how your product or service can help your product I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. You come up with 150 different reasons how you can help your client avatar with your product or service. Does that make sense? So this is really important when you start thinking about this and thinking, okay, what are all the different ways that I can help people with these 15 reasons why people buy? This will absolutely dial in your marketing. So in the 4 core functions of business, here's the real thing, especially if you're trying to grow and scale. Everything needs to support your lead generation function. And I'm saying, even if you're looking for funding with an investor, and this is maybe why you're putting together your business plan, everything needs to support the lead generation function. And here's why. Because you can have the best, most efficient business. You might have the most amazing idea. You can be an absolute paragon of virtue. And your sales technique is so dialed in, you could sell ice to Eskimos and voting booths to Castro, and you can still starve. So the truth is this: you can never, ever, ever, ever take your foot off the gas when it comes to lead generation. You just can't. So when it comes to that promotion piece, I don't want you to neglect that when you're putting together your business plan. That's when you're starting to recognize who your target audience is and your target market and how you're actually going to reach them. And I would argue that you should probably have at least 2 ways that you can reach them. At least 2. I don't want you to have 9 different ways how you're going to do that, because you're probably not going to be able to utilize 9 different ways. But if you can come up with 2 solid ways and maybe a tertiary that you can fall back on in case the first 1 or 2 doesn't really stick. But if you're only relying on one methodology in terms of getting clients, it's not going to be, if that doesn't work, you've kind of put all your eggs in one basket. So when it comes to lead generation, you've got to just stomp on the gas. So when it comes to lead generation activities specifically, and especially if you're a solopreneur, you need to be spending 60 to 70% of your time and effort on lead generation activities. That's just the way it is. So if you're working a 10-hour day, 6 or 7 hours minimum need to be spent on lead generation activities. That's just the way it is. So the next component to this is the sales component. And this is where the conversation continues on, which is started by the lead generation. And it also understands that effective selling is not about holding someone's head underwater until they say yes. Has anybody ever experienced that sales guy or that sales gal? Right? Let me know. Like some of the, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to take that call because I know they're going to try to sell me on something. That's not effective selling. It's effective selling is about finding solutions for folks, even if you don't have the best solution. So I want you to think about that in terms of how you're going to sell. Lead generation, sales, operations. Operations function is now, this is what you're doing. This is the thing that you're delivering. This is the deliverable. You're the website maker. You're the whatever, right? You're putting on roofs, whatever, right? And if you're going to get stuck, generally most people get stuck in the operational function. If you're going to ignore something, generally you're going to ignore the accounting. And it generally goes like something like this. Well, I've got more money in my bank account this month than last month. I must be doing okay. All right. No judgment if you have said those words, but here's the problem. I have an accounting degree and I have said those very things. So I'm just saying, find someone to do your books for you so you're not just wandering all around without any idea what your financial situation actually is. I don't know if anybody here has ever attended the financial literacy for business owners, but I have one coming up here, and I think I've got one coming up maybe next Friday or next Wednesday, but I'll have to check. But if you haven't and you really don't understand your finances, that's a problem. If you don't understand what a balance sheet is or an income statement, doesn't mean that you have to be an accountant, but if you're ignoring your accounting, you can't make good financial decisions because you don't know where your money situation is at. And the money is generally going to drive a lot of decisions. Okay. So think about this. Are all of these 4 functions the same skill set? No, they're not the same skill set. That's why you need people, and you need people who are in alignment with what? You need people who are in alignment with your core values. Oh my gosh, here it comes back around like a bad penny. Okay. Yes. So you're going to be hiring people into your organization that are in alignment with your core values. All right. So again, I made these points before, but I'm going to bring it up again. Core values are so important because they help define company culture, and the company culture and the company brand are inextricably linked. But this is a really important thing here, is that core values also create unity in the organization, and your vision that you're creating will absolutely thrive in an environment of unity. So it's really important that you start thinking about what your company culture is going to look like on the front end. So we're going to give you a couple of, I'm going to give you the business plan template and show you what that looks like. The business plan is broken out into these 9 areas: industry, product or service. There's a target market, demographics, market size. What's the competition in the marketplace? This is all in your business plan. So I'm going to go through this rather quickly. What's your marketing strategy, critical risks, your SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, financial analysis, and the financial analysis, your pro forma balance sheet and income statement, and then of course your metrics and milestones. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to show you how to download this right now. I'm actually going to get myself out of the way. If you guys want to go to strategicboardroom.com, and if you're driving, again, this will be all on a replay, so you can get access to this. But what you're going to do is you're going to go to strategicboardroom.com, and if you're on a website, you're just going to go up to the top right, you know, whether you're on a phone or whatever, you're going to click that courses and logins right up there on the top right. And once you've clicked that, you're going to scroll down until you see right underneath where it says free courses and downloads. So the paid stuff is up top. Scroll down, and you're going to click right there where it says free 9-step business plan template. It is on there. I promise. Okay. So again, one more time, you go to strategicboardroom.com. Then when the page loads, go to courses and logins at the top right. Scroll down a little bit, and it's right underneath the free courses and downloads, free 9-step business plan template. And that is everything that I have there. So you can get a free, you don't even have to enter in an email or anything like that. You can just click on it and get it. The other thing I want to share with you is if you want to join the community, if this was helpful for you and you want to continue the conversation with me, if you hate my face, then don't come. That's okay. But I mentioned this earlier. If you would like to come, and there is the link for Strategic Boardroom. I just put in the comment section. But if you are interested and that is something that you would like to join, it's just a community where you can continue on the conversation with me. Eventually this will be a paid membership, but as of right now, I am keeping this portion of it free. So you can just be in the community and ask me questions along the way and post different things and meet some other cool people who are also in business. So that's everything that I have. Thanks everybody for sticking around today. I don't see any other questions or anything else. I'll hang out for just a second if you've got questions. Well, I don't see any questions. All right. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so very much for hanging around today. I really hope that you are going to, let's see, I've got Ariella. Oh, you are more than welcome, Ariella. Thanks so much for being so engaged, and I certainly wish you well. Michaela, when are you doing the financial literacy? Let me look. Michaela. Let's see here. That is, oops, nope, that is not what I wanted. Okay. So I don't see, I'm probably going to be doing one next week. I don't think I've got one up and running yet, but here's what I would suggest. So I don't have one put up yet. Here's what I'm going to do though. I'm probably going to do one on Wednesday of next week. Here's what I would suggest. Go to Eventbrite and just follow. And once I have that figured out, you will get a notification. I'm pretty sure you guys get a notification anytime I put up a new session. So you will get notified. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to be doing that on Wednesday. I don't have a link for that just yet because that has not gone live. So I will thank you for asking that, Michaela. Annie, it was my true pleasure. Thank you so much. Keisha, thank you so very much. All right, everybody. That is everything. That is a wrap. Have a great rest of your weekend. And I will see you guys next time in the boardroom. Take good care.